For most of us, water is readily available, sanitary, and undenied. We think nothing of it. However, a vast majority of the world's population is overwhelmingly occupied by an entirely different kind of access to the life-sustaining liquid.
Approximately 10 years ago, I went to see a friend of mine who lived high up in the mountains. And when I went there, I noticed that the girls and the women in the morning took off with water containers walking to some place, And I asked the guy, I said, look, what's this? He said, well, we got to go to six to 8 miles to the river to get water. It just made an impression on me.
In 2019, the United Nations estimated that 2.2 billion people were not able to access managed drinking water services. 2.2 billion people.
Let me start by giving a scientific fact. 76% of our body is water. If you look at history going back as far in history as you can, all human cities, villages, towns, whatever, have been always built near the rivers. Having said that, question of modern day life meaning in today's day and age, life is not possible without water. But let us suppose, for the sake of discussion, that you didn't have water.
World climate experts project that the Middle East and North Africa will be one of the world's regions hit hardest by climate change in the 21st century. This area is the world's most water-scarce region. Scientific articles have shown a 75% reduction in freshwater availability since the 1950s, and is expected to fall by more than 40% by 2030.
I read an article by the United Nations climate people about how it was going to impact water, the climate change that is. And there was a paragraph which said the worst affected place in the world would be West and Northwest Asia. So when I looked at the map, well, right there was Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, all these places. And since I'm originally from the border area between Pakistan and Afghanistan, so next time I went looking, and I found the situation was much worse than what I had imagined. Because the amount of water in the rivers in summer, before the rains came, was going down, and the amount of water in the wells, which people had drilled or dug up, was going down. So I talked to a lot of people, and then I realized that this is going to be a very significant problem.
Not only quantity, but quality of water is a big issue. According to the World Health Organization, people forced to drink dirty and contaminated water are easy prey to diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and polio, to name a few. The World Health Organization estimates that just under 500,000 diarrheal deaths occur each year caused by drinking contaminated water. In other words, 1,400 people per day get ill and lose their lives simply because of the water they drink.
The water that they are getting from the river or some place like that is not clean water. You are hoping it's clean water, but it's not clean water. They have no knowledge how to sterilize the water or remove the germs and things like that. So all waterborne diseases are rampant.
To give someone a simple answer to a problem, you merely provide a temporary one-off solution. But if you teach them how to understand problems and construct solutions, then you have given them an education. But how can only one person possibly think they can bring about change to this enormous problem?
So then I realized that perhaps I could help with ideas or something like that. And immediately the thing that came to mind was rainwater conservation. But you can't convince people to do something until and unless there is something in it for them. So I thought about it and I said, well, the best way to convince them for rainwater conservation is to make water available to them closer. And indirectly or directly, you would be helping the women aspect, 50% of the population, because they wouldn't have to walk 8 miles and 10 miles, to the water. So that is how it started. I'm 79 years old, going on 80. I have a bad knee and I have other physical problems due to athletic injuries, but as long as I'm alive, I can do what I can. That's where my family comes from. After all this research and studies I have done, in 3 years, available water would be less than 50%. Population of Pakistan 50 years ago was 30 million people. Today, the same place has a population of 240 million people. Everybody has to drink, everybody has to eat, grain has to be grown, livestock have to be fed. This is going to be a very big problem. And I just thought about it and I laid awake at night worrying about it. I'm a worrying type of person anyways, but I just worried about all of this thing. And then I said, what can I do? Well, I can't do much, but I can make some noise and I can talk to my friends. At the time I started, I had zero expertise other than what my patients had taught me. I'm a curious person. When patients came to see me all over South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, and a lot of the patients that came from West River were ranchers, and they had built stock dams to conserve rain and snow water, And then I went to the agriculture department in Minnesota and also in South Dakota, and I asked them about stock dams, how to build them, how to do this and that. And they were very kind and very generous with the information they gave me. So that's how I learned, I know the people, I know the language, I can communicate with them. There is a credibility that I have with them. So that's why I'm going there, Yes, rainwater conservation is the saving grace. So I inform and educate them, and then the question arises, well, how are we going to save rainwater? Well, the best way to save rainwater in any area is to build stock dams. All stock dams do over there is they force the water that flows through the ravines at a very high speed to slow down and go into the soil. so it helps the aquifer in the soil. What are the problems I face? First problem I face is when you talk to anybody about dam, they think that you're going to build a concrete dam and there is going to be a lake of water and they're going to grow fish and all of that. Immediately, that is not the purpose and that is not the case. What that place needs, or what that area needs, is that every ravine needs about 10 stock dams, built with local materials, local labor and all the rest. That will help the problem in a way that all the rainwater that's just going like gangbusters, that'll go into the soil. First, you cannot get all the machinery there. It's very difficult terrain. There are just goat tracks. Second, you want to use local material, which is rocks and stones, and you want to use what we call manual labor or local manual labor. And you essentially, what you're doing is you're using engineering principles, but you're building walls about 10 to 12 feet tall and anywhere from 40 to 75 feet long. Of most of the stones and rocks you find there are granite or slate. Now, 1 cubic foot of granite weighs 184 pounds. So if you build a dam that's about 10 feet at the base and is triangular and is about 42 foot long, it weighs about 74 tons. As soon as we talked about that, they said, well, what if a big flood comes and it blows it away? And I said to them, Noah's flood is not coming again. And I said, for water to blow away 74 tons of stone is going to be a little difficult. And about June, I got a call from the guy and he said, well, grandfather spring has become alive. What do you mean it has come alive? They said it's producing water now. So we need to build a reservoir, we need to dig a reservoir and all of that. So then I arranged for the funds to be transferred and they dug up a pond about 7 foot deep and 9 foot by 9 foot, And then they used the spring water. So the 2 dams made the spring come alive. So everybody now understood suddenly the value of rainwater conservation. Now we are lucky in the US and Canada, we have lots of water, and hopefully we'll have lots of water for the next 100 years. But in West Asia, after all this research and studies I have done, in 3 years, available water would be less than 50%. In a society such as the place where I am going, the responsibility for providing water has been shifted to the women. A young girl, 10 years old, is taught how to carry water on top of her head from wherever place, 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, whatever it is. I want you to drill a well in one particular place, what was it going to cost me and all the rest. It costs about $2,500 to drill a well. That includes drilling and all the pumps and everything, plus solar panels, because there is no electricity in that area. Of course, the big problem is anytime you are going to do something like this, you need funds. And my own funds were very limited. So a question arose how I was going to generate funds. Well, what you do is you talk to your friends and hope that somebody is going to give you some money. If you are drilling one well, you are helping a village of roughly 150 families. What I'm doing is I'm talking as much as I'm using the drilling of well as a bait or as a bribe, call it what you may. They won't listen to me until unless I do something for them. So I do something for them, then they'll sit down and they'll listen to me and they'll start paying attention, My purpose is to educate and inform. I'm just whatever little funds I'm able to gather together, I use that as a bribe to educate. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how it is. Now, drilling a well and providing water is one thing, but what you have done is you have educated the persons or the people of the village that they can get clean water.